Good evening, race fans, and welcome to weekend number 8 out of 10 of the Herd Summer Racing League. We are in Watopia and we have a single lap of the Magnificent Eight. Tonight we will have two primes. We've got the Hilly KOM at 7.2k, and then we have the Fuego Flats Desert Sprint, which will be a 500 meter sprint at 15.0 kilometers. And we are about 1.5 minutes away from the D's setting off. So handing over to Gordon Sloan, 1 minute 15 to go. What do you think?
1 minute 15. So, well, tonight we'll be following John Richardson in the D, and the pen's filling up nicely at the moment. So we've got just about 40 riders at the moment in the D pen. Looking good. It's quite a different course to last week's. Different from Crit City. The only two primes today. So I suspect possibly might get a faster start as people are counting on the GC points as well this week. So we shall see. We've only one KOM and a long sprint. It's certainly worth trying to stay with the pack and with the group because you're going to pick up some good GC points as well. But looks like a decent field. We've got 40 riders in the pen with 40 seconds to go. So we see how we get if we sprint off the line. But the last few weeks has been a bit of an easier start, but with less primes, people might have a bit more energy to hit out early. But we shall see. We're following John tonight, which he's doing well in the league. Unfortunately, I think our Zwift Power stats are down, so hopefully they might come back during the race and they'll get a bit more detail on what's going on. But no, about 15 seconds out, so we'll probably just hold here for a minute just to wait and see what sort of start we get. We're looking like I've not spoken to John, see if there's any tactics or anything tonight, but he's a top end D rider, so I'm expecting hopefully a good result from him. But as we go 3, 2, 1, and let's just see how we get on out the gate here. See if there's going. How many riders did we actually get out into the pen? And looks well, the front end is pushing out, but John's sitting there at the moment. I have to wait a couple of minutes just to settle down and see get the scoreboard up. See how many riders we got, but I suspect it's just over 40 as they're starting to stretch out with this group. I did notice before, so if power went down, there's 1 or 2 C riders in here, so that will probably drive up the pace a wee bit. But 45 riders we got at the moment. Looks like John is in 14th. I can see a few other herd riders in here. A D Rit, also a B Henry in there in the herd. So we'll see how they get on in a few moments. But just under the start-finish banner line is John's been slightly dropped by that front group, just a few seconds. But give it a minute or two, and then we'll see how they merge together and see what sort of groups they find to ride with. But yeah, who are we following in other categories?
So we are following Ben Poynton in the Cities. Ben apparently has quite the race planned for tonight. So he's planning on sticking together over a hill, and obviously the hill is at, just bear with me, the hill's just after 7 kilometres, and Ben's going to FSU just after the hill on the desert, so we will see how that pans out, but definitely looking forward to seeing how Ben gets on. The C's are heading off in about 3 minutes 20 seconds, so that means Ed Finney, the Bees, will be heading off in just after 8 minutes.
That's right. Tonight I'll be watching Chris Greenland. He's been with the Herd Racing League for about 3 months, and he's not really a high watt per kilogram guy, but I think he'll do fine here. Like Gordon said, not as many primes tonight, so the strategy is going to be a little bit different. So they're going to have to push it hard through the whole GC portion, and maybe pick up some good points on the 2 primes, but the focus is going to be keeping up with the main group. So we'll see if Chris can hop on the lead group and stick with it and see how that goes. But time will tell. Again, as indicated, with power's down, so I don't have a lot of stats. But so we'll be the B group will be heading out in about 7.5 minutes. Back to you, James.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Gordon, what's going on with these?
Yeah, so these John's kind of settled down into probably what's the second group on the road. There's he's shown his 9th place at the moment on Zwift, and it's a group of about half a dozen riders up the road. Although I suspect they probably are C riders or not registered on Zwift Power. I can see a few Japanese flags and a couple of Canadian flags, but they're all holding sort of 3 watts a kilo. So I suspect we can probably ignore them. There's one rider in between him and John's group, but John's got a nice little group here, about 6 or 7 riders at the moment, and 2.5 decent pace on the front. Probably about 2.5 towards 3 on the front, which is what you'd expect for a top end Cat D rider. So I think he'll be quite happy. He's got a couple of other hard riders in this group, so if they can just keep this pace together and distance the riders behind, I think they'll be doing very well. As I said, that front group, I'm pretty much going to discount them. I don't believe any of them will probably qualify for points, but we'll have to wait and see. John is doing the work on the front here, so it'll be interesting to see if this group works together or whether they're just happy sitting in, and you might find 1 or 2 of them do exactly that and don't pull their weight, but we shall find out shortly. But at the moment they're working quite well. John's been on the front a couple of times. There's a couple of our hard riders in here, so maybe they're communicating as well and taking turns at it. But this first part of the course is fairly flat till we hit the reverse KOM, so I suspect this group will stick together. And possibly that one rider, he's about 5 seconds ahead, but they'll probably drag him back in. I don't see that one rider catching the group ahead, so if he's got any sense, he'll pull back before he just burn up himself. But they're pulling away from the group behind, and it looks nice and comfortable here at the moment. So we'll see how we get on when we get round to the KOM. But how long have the C group now got?
So we've got 40 seconds and just a little bit of time to recap on the course. So we will go reverse up the start banner. We'll go round the volcano, up the hilly KOM, and then quickly switch back to the desert. Go over the sprint, and then we will head back towards the start-finish banner at about, I think, 29.5 kilometers. So we've got 10 seconds to go until the start of the seas. So we're now down to 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. It's lights out and away we go. And Ben is off at pushing 400 watts. Holding high 300s, low 400s, just trying to hang on to the front of the C group. We've got the usual big push at the start of a race. Ben's currently 17th place. There's no evidence of a break as of yet, but looks like everyone's going to bunch up fairly early on. As expected. So expect bunches for the first 7K, and then expect the first hill to break things up. But we'll go back to Gordon. What's going on with these?
Pretty much as we were. So we've just gone through the volcano. It looks like this group has managed to catch up that one rider ahead. I believe it was RC from Velo Club. So it looks like we've got 7 riders, I believe, in this little mini group. Looking ahead, that front group of about 7 or 8 riders are now 50 seconds ahead and still holding down the power at probably 2.5, 3.5 watts. So I think they're long gone, and we can just discount them. But John's looking good in this group. There's now, it looks like they've got 8 of them in the group with a gap back the way, 5 seconds, and then another 11, 10 seconds further back. So I think this group's settling in quite well at the moment, and they'll just ride together till we hit that KOM. But I suggested this. There's more in this race on the GC, so be an interesting tactical battle whether any of them try anything over the KOM or through the sprint through the desert. As you suggested there, Ben's maybe going to try and push it through the desert. But the other thing to point out, with a sprint that long, you really want a good draft. So timing the sprint will be key, and it'll be interesting to see also where the C's and the B's as well start catching them up. If I was to hazard to guess, I reckon they'll probably get over the KOM before they start seeing riders catch them, but maybe towards the start of the desert or the sprint they could start catching them, which could be an ideal opportunity to actually get quite a draft from the teams behind or riders behind and speed up through the sprint. So we shall see. But at the moment, no. Group of 8 here. They're not in a bad pace, certainly higher pace than previous weeks when there's been more primes on offer. So I think they're keeping that pace high, because it does actually look like the chase group is maybe catching 5 or 6 seconds they're down to now. So we might find in another couple of kilometres this all comes back together before a explosion up the reverse KOM. I suspect what will happen. But looking absolutely fine in this group. 8 of them drifting along very nicely. Back to you, James. How the C's gone? Have they managed to group up, or is it everyone just going for themselves?
So we've got a group of probably 20, maybe 30 riders. There's definitely two groups now. There's a group probably 15, 20 seconds back down the road. Ben's doing fine. He's settling in about 2.5 watts a kilo. His first push up the hill was about 3.5. He's now settling in at a much nicer pace. Ed Finney, we probably have only about a minute and a half until we'll be set off.
Yep. So they're all cranking out here. Looks like Ben or Chris is riding a Cervelo, maybe an S5. I haven't got a good look at it with a set of 404. 404s on there. So we'll see how that plays out for him. Picked a little bit more aero type, all around good bike. That the S5 is a nice one for both climbing and sprinting. He's got a little bit of aero wheel on there. We'll see if that gives him any advantage at all. But we're still about 1 minute out. So back to you, Gordon. How are we doing?
We're not too bad. So we're just heading up towards the Italian village now. Still this nice little group of 8. I saw a quick message on the chat there. I didn't catch who it was from, but someone was asking about whether they'd hold together on the KOM. So it'll be an interesting one, as I said, how they play this tactically, whether some of the riders push on or try and group up together and chase people down. Certainly there will be more chasing riders with extra GC points today compared to the Prime. So no, I mean the Ds are hitting up towards the Italian village. The chase group behind is only showing 3 or 4 seconds now, so we might find it is just coming back together, though this little group of 8 is stringing out a wee bit, so but they'll keep the pace high. I mean, I can see riders in here someone doing 3.5, 4 watts up the hill here, so putting the pressure on a wee bit. I suspect they'll come back together once we head through the Italian village before the KOM, but more than likely it will string out a lot over the KOM, and then we'll just have to see what sort of groups they can form up.
All right, and we're off. The B is just left, pushing pretty good power, 500 watts out of Chris right now, hanging with it. It's a big mob. A lot of B riders tonight, at least 20, 25 running through this. And we'll see if Chris can hang on to the lead if he feels like that's what he wants to do. He's pushing out 7 watts a kilo right now, trying to hang in there. We all know how these races start. It's like scalded cats, especially this particular one. Without the primes, these guys know they've got to stick with that main group coming up. So we'll have to see what happens. James?
Yeah, we're at 3.7k now, and just talking about riding numbers, we've got a whole 50 in Cat C. We've probably got about 20, 30 in this group here. Big group. We're at 4k now. We've got about 3k to go until the first climb. And Gordon, the Cat Ds can't be too far away from that climb.
They're a wee bit away, probably a kilometre, maybe 2 kilometres. They're just on that last sort of climb out the Italian village, where they pass the top of the switchback, sort of zigzagged. But we've got a bit of a rest downhill before we head along over the bridge, past the gas station, and then we'll hit that back of the reverse KOM. So they have strung out a wee bit. I mean, John's still sitting with the front of this group, but there's 2 or 3 of them, and then you're seeing the gaps, sort of 1 second, 2 seconds, 6 seconds, 12 seconds. So you can see even that slight uphill through the Italian village has sort of pulled this group apart a wee bit. I suspect only more of that's going to happen once we hit the KOM. So at the moment, John's playing it perfectly. He's in the third wheel, but I suspect by the time this group get over the KOM, they could be all over the place. And then it might be, I mean, if the C group are pushing on, I don't think they'll be far behind them when they come over that KOM, or possibly even past some of them. Maybe not quite the front runners in the D, but they'll certainly be there close. And what I'd be doing if I was John was looking for that C group to follow through in the desert, depending how this rest of the group does, because they are coming back together, 6 or 7 of them in this nice little group just as we're crossing the bridge, with, I probably reckon it's about somewhere between 500, maybe as much as a kilometre before the bottom of the KOM. And then I think they'll hammer it again to get up that. Obviously, it's not just a case of getting over the KOM, the prime points count as well, so you really need to put the pressure on the other riders to get a good time up that. But no, looking absolutely good at the moment. So I don't know. Back to Ed. How's the start? Have they managed to group up yet?
They're grouped up pretty well. Chris is hanging up there with there's 50 in this group, so he's 19th right now. They're starting to spread a little bit, pushing hard, 47 kilometers per hour. He's pulling about 3.7. So he's tacking himself, hanging in there. There's a group of about 5 or 6 that are behind. It looks like they might catch up. So still a pretty good blob here, moving right along. I have to admit, this reverse hilly KOM is probably one of my favorites. I usually use this route to warm up for whenever I'm racing, if I ever get back there. But right now they're just in the flat, so you got it, James.
Yeah, we're just climbing up towards climbing towards the village, and then we're gonna see not too far away the switchbacks. But we're 5.5k. We've got about 2k towards the first climb. Well, the first and only climb. And Gordon, are your guys on the climb yet, or not quite?
They are. So this front group, and John's actually pulled, by the look of it, to the front of this group. They're just going around the corner, which is the steepest part of the climb, up to 11% now. I think it probably tops out about 11%, so you can kind of afford to do a bit of a push up that first part before it levels out round towards the actual official KOM banner, although none of the riders will be taking it easy round that. They have to push all the way for the best time for prime points. I just see they are catching a one rider ahead, Jay Lamb. I'm not sure if that was a rider that was being dropped from the front group or possibly gone off this, but no. John's still pushing up here, high 2s, even into 3s with Watts, so he's dropped the riders behind him, sort of 1 or 2 seconds, but we'll see what happens over the top. As I said, they need to keep pushing, but there's value in staying in the group for the draft as well. The one thing you probably don't want to do is kill yourself getting up this KOM to find yourself dropped through the desert, because that is, if you're dropped and riding alone in the desert, there's no chance of catching any group in front, so that'll be an interesting one. But John, he's sprinting now, 5.1 briefly for a second. I don't know whether that was just to catch Jay Lamb, but he's going to go right past him. Still keeping the power down, so I suspect he's going to get a very good time at this KOM if he can carry on and hold that power all the way around. But looking good. He's out on his own. Whether the D riders all stay like that, or whether they'll join up or manage to find the C's. If I was John, I'd carry on pushing around this KOM, wait for the C's, and then just see what sort of wheel you can catch for the latter parts of it. But looking very good at the moment. He's 7th on Zwift, and I suspect probably first on overall, because I'm discounting most of the riders ahead. But we shall wait and see. How are the C's? Must be hitting that KOM now shortly.
Yep, C's are just going over the bridge now, and they will hit the KOM very shortly. 6.8k. Ben's in good shape. He's 8th or 9th out of 50. Just going over the bridge, and then we'll hit the KOM near enough straight away. So 7 kilometers gone, and we can see the KOM banner not too far in front. And just going over KOM banner now, and gradients at 2%. Shortly to push up very, very swiftly to up to about 10%. But we'll leave these guys alone and go back to Ed.
Yeah, we just left Volcano Island. We're on the Sandy Peninsula heading towards the Italian village. I see both Chandlers in here, Paul Vance, Bruce Bottorff, all in this main group. It's all 50 of these guys are hanging in together. So it's just this mass group of 50 Cat B riders. Chris is taking advantage and hanging back in about 20th or 30th position, give or take, and just keeping about 2.5 watts a kilogram to, save himself. We'll see what happens when we hit the KOM. I think it's going to stretch some of these guys out, but it's not a killer hill. I mean, these B Cat guys, if they just power up past that 11% after that, it's pretty much rolling all the way through. So I kind of expect most of these guys to hang in there, but we'll see. Right now we're just coming off the dirt portion, and we'll be heading over to the switchbacks and then over to the KOM. Gordon.
Yeah, so John, he's been caught up by 1 or 2 of the D riders now, so there must be, it looks like a group of about 4 of them. Still pushing some good numbers round towards the KOM. It's just probably just about the last corner before you'll see the KOM banner coming in sight. We're seeing 1 or 2 times click over from the front riders on Zwift. Sub 5 minutes up the KOM, which is fairly going if they are a D rider. So we'll wait and see. But this group's there's 4 of them at the moment. We might be able to get some times actually just as they pass the KOM banner, because they will be the first riders through it. So we have 5 riders so far registered at the KOM. Although John looks like he's sitting in 8th place, so maybe missing 1 or 2 there. I can see Feather Parrot getting thrown down by one rider just for that little push up to the line, see how they get on. And I'll see if we can get John's time. So where is he? So he's showing 8th at the moment. I believe 1 or 2 of this group that are ahead of him possibly beat him on the KOM for official time, but still very good. I reckon it's probably top 3 or 4 in terms of D riders up that KOM. So definitely got some points. Case of just now sitting in with this group, waiting to see what happens when the C riders catch them, what sort of state they're in. Hopefully, well, possibly not in time for the desert sprint, so we'll just have to wait and see as John goes into the Aero Tuck. A good opportunity on the downhill. 1 or 2 riders that aren't, doesn't look like they're using the Aero Tuck, but good chance to actually use it and try and recover some time. But yeah, how are the C's hitting the hill, James?
Yeah, so they've got about a kilometre to go. There's Ben is currently sitting right on the front and in first place, but they've got a group of about I'd say probably 7 riders. Ben's pushed really hard on the hill. On the steep part, he was pushing about 500 watts. But he's not got long to go, and he's definitely on the easier part of the hill. Ed Finney, how are the B riders going?
We're right now, we are on the bridge. Just very shortly, we'll be hitting the beginning of that KOM. As I indicated, Chris picked the Cervelo S5 and the Zip 404s, and it's probably what I would pick too if I wasn't riding a Tron. Good all around bike. He's hanging in there at 19th position. Again, it's a huge group of 50 guys here. And like I said, we're going to see what happens as we cross over the event KOM start banner right now. So they're just getting started on the KOM, hitting 2%. And as you guys all know, the grade increases rapidly from here on up. And the first corner up here is where the sticky part is. Got a couple bumps there, and then on over to the final rush up to the top of the KOM banner. But that's where we're at right now. They're pushing about 37 kilometers per hour, so they're moving right along, even at 4 or 5%. Chris is currently in 4th position, so he's holding good. I'm thinking he's going to work hard to stay near the front on this. Just moved up in the 3rd, 4th position. So anyway, we're at 9-10%, still pushing hard. These guys are pushing 6-7 watts per kilogram, and it is stretching out. I can see a trailer of bodies way back behind this front group, but Chris is hanging in 4th, so good for him. He's doing a great job. Back to you, James.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Ben is currently aero attacking down the hill after finishing. His time was 6th best for 29.2. The fastest was it's all gone. Ben got overtaken like just about probably 10 meters behind before the line. So. But he's doing a good job catching down the hill, and he will rejoin the main pack of five riders just in front of him. And then we'll head to the desert before very long at all. Gordon, where are the Ds?
So the Ds they're just entering the desert, I suppose, portion part. They're just over that bridge, over that horrible 1-2% climb into the desert. So everyone loves that, even though it's 2%. It's still a grind to get into the desert, but yeah, it's a nice group. 4 riders here. We've got John, we've got this other RC rider from Velo Club, an R Haber, and a Y Tejas. So they're working quite well together at the moment, the 4 of them. I don't think they're going to catch anyone in front of them, although there's one rider being split off that front group, so they might gradually pull him in, and certainly with some help with the C groups, it's possible. looking back the way, there's now 30, 40-second gaps. So I don't see anyone catching them from behind, although it does depend on who can hold on to any C wheels. So that's always makes a difference latter parts of this race if you can get a good wheel. And also with the sprint coming in, it's probably about 2.5, 3 kilometres. If you can get a good draft for that as well, that will certainly help you on the prime. So you might even find that the 1 or 2 riders that are 40, 50 seconds back might have just timed it perfectly, depending on how that C groups if they're pushing on. But at the moment, the front of this little group's probably doing about 2.6, 2.7. I'll have to have a bit more of a focus to see if they're all doing their turns or whether anyone here is, as we say, sandbagging the group or wheel sucking along. But at the moment, John looks like he's actually perfect. He had a good time over that KOM. We'll get a sprint time shortly in a few minutes. But no, nice group of 4 at the moment. But what sort of pace of the C group? Does it look like they're going to catch up with them anytime soon?
So C's are looking to be about a minute behind. Ben's holding high 2s, low 3s. They're 12.2k at the moment. Ed, how far back are we? How far back?
We are coming right up on the banner right now. Chris is currently in 3rd. He's pushing hard. 7 watts a kilo coming across the banner. Right now, second position at 3 minutes 53. But we'll see. There's still 40 other guys behind him, and we'll see how they do. But nonetheless, right now he's in 2nd position on the Zwift KOM. So excellent job. His average is only about 3.4, 3.5. So he's against some of these riders. He's doing an excellent job. So we're currently on the downhill, and off we go. Gordon.
Yeah, so we're still back in the desert. Still this group of 4, looking nice. I'm just trying to see if we can spot any of the C riders appearing on screen. It is still showing nearly a 2-minute gap. That does look like to be Ben's group as well. So they've got 2 minutes back. I think it's going to take them a wee bit longer on this flat course. It takes quite a while to actually catch up groups on the flat. So I suspect this group of 4 will be hitting the sprint together. It's just a question of whether any of them actually go for the sprint or whether John will be sprinting on his own or whether, again, he's just happy to roll through if the front of this group is going at a decent pace for the D riders. So we shall have to wait and see. Still look like a group of 4. They are not really catching in on there's an M Austin rider in front, but Aloni's still pushing out 2.7, 2.8. So I don't see him catching them anytime soon. Back the way we still got a 40 sort of second gap, but probably 1 kilometre out from the sprint. And hopefully, if John can get some good points there, he's certainly in line for a podium position. And although we don't have access to Zwift Power, I know John is heading up the league table for the Category D. We've had quite a few promotions from Category D, so some of them find they're off in C now, which helped out the lower riders. So it'll be interesting to see who's still there at the end of the 10 weeks. But John, I think he's probably somewhere in about 5th to 7th overall in the league. So if you can get another good result here, he might even move up another couple of places. But we'll be hitting the sprint in probably about 30 seconds, I would have thought. So hopefully this group do sprint with him. Otherwise, it's going to be a struggle. It's a long sprint, 30, 40 seconds, possibly even longer if you're sprinting alone. But I'll maybe just give it half a second, come around the corner and just see how this sprint kicks off. As I can see the front riders, 40 seconds is the time to beat. Though I suspect the front riders, looks like a group of Japanese riders, probably didn't sprint that if they are just riding for GC. But as we just turn the corner, about to start the sprint, just see if anyone's going to kick up and go for it. CR Heber, he's up to 4 watts a kilo, so if John can jump on his wheel, that'd be a good wheel before he loses the draft. Although there he's going now, up to 5 watts a kilo, but you don't want to lose the draft on this sprint. That front rider looks like he's probably broken free in a way, which might have been a good wheel, but I can see the second rider as well, holding 4 watts as well, keeping up, but I'm not sure if he's actually going for the sprint or just kind of keep hold of that front rider ahead. So at the moment, John has calmed down the pace halfway through the sprint. It is a long one, so you don't want to go full gas for all 40, 50 seconds as you will tire out, but I'll just get his time as he comes through shortly. Certainly easing off towards the end, which might be hard to tell. Some of the riders behind will sprint, and Sixth on the board at the moment, 47 seconds, so not bad. I suspect this group will come back together, and then we'll wait for the C's to pass through. But I think the C group must just about be approaching the sprint. Where are they, James?
Yep, literally just approaching the sprint now. Just about to turn right, and we will hit the sprint in about 5 seconds time. And hitting it now, Ben's currently front wheel, so he's not getting any draft at all, but he's still holding about 400 watts and pushing it really, really hard. Still holding 400, 500. He may well just be focusing on the main race, but he's now pushing hard now at 600. And he's coming in 40 seconds, 0.76. Oh no, sorry, 42.64. He's currently in 6th place. And got a group of 3 riders up in front. I think they'll group back together again. Ed, what's going on in the Bs?
All right, so we've got 7 guys that have pulled ahead, and Chris is in that lead group of 7, which is great. He's about 10 seconds ahead of the next group. He's hanging in there, pulling about high 2s, low 3 watts a kilo, just keeping in the draft. I'm sure that shortly the sprint's going to be coming up, and these guys are going to hit it hard, and we'll see if that stretches them out at all. Without Zwift Power, I'm not sure what Chris looks like as far as overall power goes, and it is still down. But right now, he's really doing an excellent job of hanging with these guys, taking advantage of the draft. He has not been out on the front once, which is probably good for him. As one of the not quite as strong riders in Cat B, he's doing a good job of focusing on staying in the draft and taking advantage of the stronger guy's wheels. So if he can hang with this front group, he's going to end up with some nice points at the end. We are still a little ways away from that sprint. We're just coming around the big kind of roundabout that's there after the pens, and we'll be hitting the sprint probably. I don't know. We're at 14.6 kilometers. I can't remember what exactly the mileage was for the sprint, but actually it's coming up here shortly. I see the old broken down adobe building on the right, which indicates the start of the sprint. The guys are starting to put some power out. Chris is hanging in 5th position, trying to hold the main group of 5 guys. We're stretching out up to, I see guys behind us in this group of 7. They're 2, 3, 4 meters back. Some of them are kind of making the jump back up. Right now we're pushing 4 watts a kilo, nothing spectacular. Chris threw out a bus, so he's going to hang with the draft here. Right now he's in 2nd position. He's going to hang on to C. Jackson's wheel. We're starting to drop the rest of them. Jackson is pushing a 9.4. Chris is 8.7. New Heights 12.7 watts a kilo. Trying to keep. Come on, Chris. Chris is hanging in there, keeping his lead on New Heights, but New Heights is pushing hard. Let's see what happens. New Heights just passed him. Looks like New Heights may up. New Heights took first, 35.92, with Chris taking 3rd with a 36.27. Back to you, James.
Thanks, Ed. So back to the C's. We are still bunched up. Got a group of about 8 or 9 riders on the Pan Flat Desert. So expect these guys to hang together for a few kilometers yet. We'll switch back to Gordon and find out how the D's are going.
These are going very well. Nothing too much excitement here and at the moment. We still got this little group of 4 riders as we're, I don't know what you call it, the sort of desert oasis in the middle. Nice group of 4, still putting out half decent numbers here. So just as we're going up that 1 or 2% incline through the Oasis, but 2.5, they're going at here. Looking back the way, I can see the C group are getting closer and closer, but it's still about 40 seconds away. So I suspect on the desert they might not get near them until we actually hit the climb on the way out, and then it's a question whether John or anyone else in this group has the energy to jump on the C's wheels or even push for a breakaway alone up that hill. That's probably my best chance, I'd say, to get a breakaway from this group. Otherwise, they will just stick together. You've got that climb out the desert and maybe the climb out the tunnels, the water tunnels before a sprint finish. But it'll probably come down to one or two of these will manage to jump onto the Sea Riders and hold on to them. But at the moment, it's looking very good. 4 riders altogether. Unfortunately, still no stats from Zwift Power, so we're just going on what's on Zwift. It's currently sitting in 9th place, and I think there's 6 riders up the road in that group ahead. Now a whole, 2.5 and then nearly 5 minutes away. And they're still, some of them pushing out over 3 watts a kilo. So definitely discounting them. I'm assuming John's at the front of the D Rider group here. So definitely going to get a podium finish, I would have thought. But it just depends how he gets on against these other riders here, because it could come down to 1 or 2 points. With only 2 primes in this, every point will count, and certainly including the GC. But I can see that gap is closing down. The Sea Riders behind are now down to 28 seconds. So, that looks like they're probably going to catch them before we hit the exit to the desert at the moment. But where are the Seas, James? Are they hitting the Oasis yet?
Not yet. They're 92.1k. Still about 20 odd seconds behind the D's. So it's going to be a way yet. Ed, what's going on with the B's?
Well, we're in Tempest Fugit. Still 12 kilometers left to go. Chris is currently in 8th position. There's a group of 8 out in the front here. If I can get a camera view, I don't see anybody behind him. Looks like the next group is 21 seconds behind. So he's hanging with this front group, which is really good. New Heights came in pretty good on that sprint, but Dave Chandler was number 1 with a 33.80, and Bruce Brautorf number 2 on that sprint prime. So that's pretty nice. Herd is represented well. Chris is doing a great job hanging with the main group here, and I think if he just finishes it off, he'll end up with some real nice points at the end. Back to you, Gordon.
So back to the D's, they will pretty much as they were, although I can see that group to the C's is closing down very quickly. Now down to 10 seconds, so give it another minute. I think they'll be right on those heels, so we'll probably just hold on here for a minute or two just to see if any of this group manage to jump on with the Sea Riders. It's a good opportunity to either make a break away from the rest of the group. I suspect we'll see 1 or 2 of them going for it, but depending how much energy they've got. Gap's down now, down to 8 seconds. I can see it looks like it's probably this Ben's group, which there probably is half a dozen riders in that group. They will be coming through the D's fast. So, I mean, a D rider here, they'll probably need to kick up even 5, 6 or watts per kilo just to jump on the back of the group and get in the draft. So, after 35 minutes riding, it might be a tough ask for this, but it could be a case of waiting for the next C group. But that's where you get the advantage in these races if you can jump onto the wheel of the faster groups. But now down to 5 seconds and 4 seconds. They're coming in pretty fast. We'll just give it a moment, see if they're not quite shown on the distance markers yet, but see if I can get a sight of them looking back the way or not. Yeah, we can see it. Looks like probably about 10 or so Sea Riders, including Ben, which we're following. But we'll see that on screen as well as they are approaching this D group. Taking an aerial shot out at the moment. They're about to pass them, but unfortunately, it's probably coming just at the wrong time because it's going to come just before they climb out the desert. So even if you do manage to jump on their wheel, you might find yourself then dropped as you exit the desert. But we're down to 0 seconds, so this C group will be coming through right about now. Just see if any of the D riders kick up, try and get on. I can see John he's up in the pace. He's trying to get on. He looks like he's going to manage it. See if they manage to drop any of these. I can see the other D's though kicking as well. If you get dropped now, that's more than likely that's going to be you gone. But looks like they possibly all might have just about managed it. There's a couple of D riders literally just hanging on the back of this group. If the elastic snaps, they're going to be gone. But
yeah, John's there. He's hanging on so far.
There's 2 D riders literally just hanging and barely hanging on the back of this group, so they're getting back on, but it's looks like it's all coming together. So they'll probably ride as a nice group till we hit the little climb out the desert. Then I suspect it will go crazy again. But looking good at the moment. How far back are the B group, Ed? What sort of distance are you at?
We're currently at 20 kilometers. Chris is doing well, still hanging with this main group, just pushing about 2.5 watts a kilo, so conserving energy. I see we've passed a few Ds here. I see Steve Wilder not too far ahead, but I think Ben and Jonathan are quite a ways up in front. Allie is, I can see her a little bit ahead of us. So not sure if these B riders will catch up to them. It's a pretty rapid pace. They're pushing about 45 kilometers per hour, so moving right along, but not as screaming fast as you might think for some of these B guys. I know that the C rider group, especially on the TTTs, are running about 40, so they're really not pushing it hard through here. I think they know that they're 40 seconds ahead of the next group of Bs. They just kind of have to hang together and finish this race out. Back to you, James.
Thanks, Ed. So Ben has had a couple of pretty hard pushes at the front, and he continues to try and lead, but he keeps on getting swallowed by the rest of the pack, and there's probably a good 10, 12 riders with him. Gordon, is John with them at all?
Yeah, John is still in this group if I can spot him. Yeah, he's in Ben's group, which just doing a rough count of the numbers, it looks like there's about a dozen of them in this group, including obviously Ben, which I suggest Ben's trying to do pushes on the front, but it's so hard to get away from you. Any other riders, you probably have to hold 5 or 6 watts a kilo just to make a sort of breakaway, and then staying away is a very hard ask on this flat course chasing a pack like this. So just as we're coming up to the sort of incline out of the desert, it's probably the next opportunity to get a break. And I suspect we might see 1 or 2 of these D riders start to struggle as the hill kicks in a wee bit. All 4 of them did manage to get into this group though. Looks like Ben's up there in the front 1 or 2, but they also see an A crawl from the ATP racing team putting on the pressure at the front. So it is starting to string out going up this hill. Have we got any D riders? Looks like John's still sitting in the front wheel of the D riders, but it is starting to string out a bit as we see the C's pushing up 4 or 5 watts a kilo. John's doing well. He's pushing up high 3s into 4, so he's hanging on to the back of this group. And I can see he's starting to drift away from the other riders behind him, but he is pushing to try and catch on. If he can make it over the top of this hill with this group, then he'll certainly break away from the rest of these D riders. That's probably his aim for the moment. Hang with this group for the next few kilometers, and then he'll should get a GC win. I would have thought he's kicking again, 4.5 watts just to stay with this group. The rest of the D riders are now gapped by 3 or 4 seconds, so probably about half a kilometre from the top. And then he gets a bit of a rest on the way back down. If he can find even 1 or 2 of this C group to draft all the way, he can probably relax for the finish, as he's now 6 or 7 seconds, although he's just starting to lose the back of this group. I don't think he's going to quite get them over the hill, so I'll have to wait and see. There's 1 or 2 C riders just around about him, but if that D group's working together behind him, they might catch up. As I can see 1 other D rider, R. Heber's managed to get on his wheel, but there's 2 more Ds 9 seconds back, so might find that these 2 work together well, or they might not, but he's been left from the C riders, so if I was him, I would try and work with this rider in front, Heber, as well, and keep away from the 2 D riders that are chasing. But back to you, Ed. How are the Bs? Are they starting to approach the hills yet?
They're just getting ready to hit the hill. We just passed a whole mass of C riders, probably about 10 of them. Larry Japson was in there. And these B riders just blew past them like there's nothing there, already 3 seconds ahead. And we're just starting up the beginning of the hill out of the desert, still at 0%, but the incline will start here pretty quick, 2, 3, 4%. Still, we've got 9 guys here, all holding together. The next set of B group, who knows where they're at? They're back a ways. I know that Bottorff and Chandler's they pushed it on the primes and are kind of holding back. And honestly, at this point, it doesn't do me any good to try and catch this group. I don't think they can, and just hanging with their position will get them some good points in the GC. So we're currently heading up out of the desert through the little forest incline here. Nothing spectacular. Pushing about 5 watts a kilo. Chris is hanging with everyone just nicely. He's doing a great job this race. Back to you, James.
Thank you. So Ben is setting at the front, back to hang all right. And we have about, I'd say 4 kilometers to go. We've got Alan Cheville in here, and who else we have? We've got A. Kroll from ATP. We've got JB from Herd, and we've got a really, really good fat group. And like I say, about 3-4k to go. About to dive into the tunnel, and we'll check back with Gordon.
So John is now just riding along with his other rider, R. Heber. Managed to get a wee bit of stats back from Zwift Power, though we don't have any, or not up-to-date live data yet, but I can see this rider that he's with is actually a Cat C, so if he finds that out, then he knows he doesn't have to sprint with them, and as suspected, it looks like all the riders ahead are possibly going to get disqualified if they're higher categories. But so I reckon John's probably sitting in first place. He's working quite well with Heber here. The group back the way is now out to 22 seconds, 23 seconds, so I think it'll come down to a head-to-head between John and our Heber here, Robert Heber I think it is, although technically he's a Cat C, so he doesn't actually really need to race with him, so he can even work with him as much as they'll work together to keep that chase group back, as it comes down to 18 seconds to the group behind. There is, well, looking back further, there's about another 40 seconds to the next C group, so with the length of time left in this race, I don't think there's going to be much opportunity either to help them, but we shall see. But heading through the water tunnels, I suspect we've got about 4k, 5k to go. He's looking good. He's looking like he's in first place, but looking pretty good at the moment. I don't know, Ed, how did the bees get on over the hill? Have they managed to stick together, or have they all blown up? Don't know if we've got Ed back here then yet or not. You can cut in when you're ready. But
sorry about that, Gordon. Yeah, we're just past some more C's. They're 7 seconds back. We're just hitting the water tunnel. The group of 9 are still hanging in there. Chris is right in the middle of the pack, doing a great job. So we're just heading down under the water for the final stretch into town. We do have that one final incline at the end of the water tunnel to hit, but this group is running nicely. So back to you, Gordon.
So we're still in the water tunnels. John and Robert Heber, although the chase group behind is now looks like 3 of them, 3 more D riders. It's down to 12 seconds, so this could start getting very close at the moment. John's on the front doing 2.5, 3 at times, but it might be up to himself whether he wants to keep on pushing, as we still got that little climb to come out the water tunnel. That could be a struggle if the group behind really start pushing. We can even see the C riders starting to close down that gap, although it's still 35 seconds to, looks like Lisa Jones is on the board. Looks like she has both the sprint and the KOM jersey, so it's looking like a very good result for her as well in the C's, but this gap is still coming down. 11 seconds I can see to the next D rider. If I was me, I'd probably still try and keep pushing on, knowing that it doesn't really matter if Heber beats you on the line. I'll just sit on the front and try and hold that gap away. But if that chase group starts hitting it on the incline out the tunnels, then it could be very close at the end. I don't know. Where does it? Trying to see where the group in front, they're not going to be much use as well. The C's have definitely pulled away, but I don't know, James. Have the C group managed to exit the water tunnels yet? How is the incline?
They're just about to hit it now, so they've got about 1.5 kilometers to go. Ben Poynton is still in second place. He's pushing out 400-500 watts up the hill. he's doing everything he possibly can to hang on to the front couple of riders. I think we've got about 1.5 to go, and still holding about 350, 400, and we're back on the flats. About 1.3 to go. So not too long to go at all. Got A Kroll just behind him, just front. I've got JB from Herd as well. Bunch of riders. Got literally about 10 riders, all on literally the same piece of turf. Kilometers to go. A Kroll's there, Alan Chevel, JB, all down to the last K. So we're going to head down and then take a very fast right-hand turn. Then we'll head left towards the finish banner.
So the bees just came out of the water tunnel, so we're gaining ground on you guys. James?
Turning right now, and then it'll be a left straight away, and then we'll literally have 300 meters towards the turn. So final stretch.
Looks like the bees are kicking it up a notch, up in the 3 to 4 watts per kilo. As we're coming in, we're at 28.4 kilometers out, so just under 1 click to finish this off. These guys are pushing hard at 48 kilometers per hour, and we'll see how this ends. Gordon?
Okay, we are sprinting now. Ben's going 700 watts, pushing 800, and it's looking like he's going to finish 6th. So back to you, Gordon.
Back to John. Still John and Robert Hebert, although the C group's coming in quick behind them. I'm just trying to spot if any of the Jason D riders have managed to get on that C group as we're coming around that last corner. He does still have, looks like about a 4-second gap back to the C group, which I think he's going to hold out, but you can see the C sprinting behind him. If any of the Ds get on that wheel, whoosh, there's someone coming through like a rocket. It looks like the B group. So
Yep, the B group's coming through.
Yep. John is still holding that gap. He's going to cross the line in first. How's the Bs looking, Ed?
All right, Chris pushing out 9 watts a kilo, pushing hard. He's going to take 6th position out of the Bs. Great race for Chris. Just a really excellent job for him. Couldn't ask for more, and I think he did great, especially relative to what his power level is in the B Cat. He did a really whopping job, so that may have increased his FDP. We're not sure. James?
Definitely, I think so. And I think John, I reckon he probably got first place overall, but we'll have to wait and see when the primes come in. But GC, I reckon he's got down first place. So good result for everyone. I think we're following tonight. But yeah, back to you, James.
Thanks, Gordon. And as ever, thanks to all of our riders tonight. And thanks to Damon for the pictures. And thanks to everyone who's been watching. Thank you and good night.
That was bizarre. I didn't expect to make the separation over the top of the comp.